Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. The stimulus have been bigger. Are questions that you guys have given a lot of thought of. How should we prepare for this event? Is there anything that we should be doing now in terms of preparing, say, the fiscal toolkit? And I know later on Professor Blinder is going to be presenting a specific paper on how perhaps to think about a fiscal response. But there's also another very important question that's also going to be talked about later today that I hope we can turn to now. The last major redesign, which happened So in any event, I think let's start. I'd like to start with first asking what can you tell us about what worked and what didn't work? That might, help us think going forward.
Yeah. So let me just start with a simple point, which is in our job years that were you're looking at overall a response that was quite powerful. The Recovery Act alone was, our estimates, and so particularly as we look back and another Great Depression. A second thing I would say in the debate about was it big enough, we often talk about the fact is that you're looking at GDP lost, and was a substantial in the aftermath of the Great Recession. The third point I would just make, shifting a little more to the specifics of the conversation that we're having today, is that and if you think about scale, so already enormously important in the overall response, but many of and also in terms of creating talked about you have seen a dramatic under TANF and the share of and so our proposal would both mandate create and third starts to experiment chances we have of recovering under a recession. So those are two specific areas where I think it's particularly important that we look at.
Thanks. Larry, turning to you and perhaps turning more decidedly towards the future, how should we think about, and if you would address kind of like the political limitations, as Sean mentioned right now.
Let me first say that and while the paper's assessing the countercyclicality of social insurance programs, I would strongly associate myself with as well. First thing I want to say is actually refer to something Roger said is all about. And as important as the issues that we are discussing, I think stopping creeping, ignorant fascism from ascending to the White House is an issue that dwarfs all of that. With respect to but I think it is a mistake. Somebody help me with this. I think it is a mistake to be too satisfied with where we have. If we look at in that context, which we are not in right now. The reality is economists debate for 3 years from within the next 3 years. And I submit that people have been wrong about, and because we don't have much in the tank with monetary policy for the next recession on the path that we are on. And I would submit that they are desirable right now. What are the crucial elements of one, the only one I have a slide on, is a substantial increase in public investment. It is insane that at a moment when interest rates have never been 10-year real interest rates are essentially zero, and precious little good is happening at the state and local. Second, strong support for, but in every economic model contributes to raising aggregate by enabling households to be able to look forward to more secure. Third, there is a strong case for assuring that we are doing what we can to promote when and earned tremendous, and we should be doing much more to promote demand by promoting that represent the real interest cost of current long-term.
Well, and yet, kind of like, is this disconnect between what we need and what we get going to persist?
Have some validity, and for promoting demand. That is the political strategy for causing something to happen.
Sean?
So first, let me say I was wondering as I walked up here. So, and I'm happy to be sitting next to it. So, since the but of the work we do in government, and that is why I started with what I did, which is as a journalist, particularly, I often say, the saying, "Good, no news is good news." Well, good news is no news.
Is there a case to be made? What's the case to be made to kind of like create a system that is less dependent on work, and
so that you and I can get our share of? I don't think that's a very good idea. If you try to finance it differently, then it gets extraordinarily expensive. The basic truth is that. So I think that ideas that the longer you look at it, the less enthusiastic you become, and I think we got to be very careful in going in that direction.
And their access to the benefits. We have always, I think, been able to see in the research work that's been done until recently with the advent of bigger data, but also both the view of whether of someone not working. The truth is
that gets cut is in fact state and local, and I think that is a crucial aspect that we devote too little attention to, in part because,
So listen, it's time, I think, to open this up to questions from you guys. And here's one that I'm really interested in hearing. It's really is there space still for, really,
my view, it's trying beats not trying as a strategy. And so I've written, no secret, that I think the overheating and that insight needs to inform as to whether there's more of, or I don't see how anybody could make a case. And that means I don't see how anybody could make a case. I say that because if you think about the different tools, extremely low. Negative rates, maybe, and there's lots of reasons to think, and so going down probably encounters, hear me, is precisely the same thing in terms of all of its economic, that's why I would prefer, and a significant part of what you get is beggar thy neighbor, and to shift demand.
Okay. How should our thinking about this be how should we take into account the strategy, say?
If I could say, this is one of the particularly crazy things about too rarely does in debates about, the fact is that
Larry, do you want to hit it?
First, it's a big deal. And if you want to understand at this moment. Second, some of it's probably aren't going to get changed quickly, though Sean's completely right about reform. Some of it probably has to do with, there's a basic truth in that at home, whether it's building an adequate public investment, and so I think that there's every reason to think, and that would do more for for our national than any other. So I think the failure of in our politics, even on both sides of the debate.
So we're almost there. I just would like to throw in one last question. It's kind of a bit of a provocative question here from the floor for Sean.
Not being able to comment on political campaigns, I'll turn that question over to Larry. Or I could take it back.
I think as a set, look, I do not add up. Yes, the wall is kind of a ludicrous with respect to international economic engagement. But I actually think the biggest thing is it is the sense that every citizen and every business is going to be subject to, because it's inconvenient, prosecution of newspapers that take undesirable positions.
Well, with that, we got to end it here. Thanks a lot. There's something coming up next.